my name is Irene and I'd like to welcome you to my channel. I talk about opinions on books and hopefully I can give you a few good recommendations. Before I get started, I'd just like to ask you to please like and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. Alright, so it is still spooky season. It is October, so all the videos I am doing this month has October fall themed videos. So for this one, I am going to be recommending you Paranormal Books. I have 10 books, some of these are series, on this list. So I really recommend to read a lot of these books in October, or just when you want to read like spooky, scary books, and these are all paranormal themed. So the first one I am going to be talking about is The Mortal Instruments. I love this series. So I read this in the beginning of high school. And this is paranormal because there is vampires and werewolves and basically in the beginning of the story there's this girl who is noticing some things are happening, and so she meets a boy named Jace, and Jace, she finds out, is a shadow hunter. And shadow hunters in this series, they hunt demons and bad creatures, and the vampires and the werewolves are kind of a part of their like daily lives. Like they get along with some of them and some of them they do not, so there's some very big issues like later in the series that involve these creatures that we see, and I love this. It has a lot of scary vibes. It's not something you'd be afraid to sleep after reading, but it has that Halloween paranormal vibe that you would kind of want during this month, and I love this series and I recommend to read every single one in this series. I have not read past The Mortal Instruments into the other ones, but this one is very good. Next, I'm going to be recommending the Lux series. So the first one is called Obsidian, and basically there's this girl who I think she just moves in, and she moves in next to neighbors that turn out to be aliens. So it's very paranormal in that way, and it's a romance. It gives you a lot of Twilight vibes, I would say, and it's really spooky, scary. And it's like they meet and it's not good at first. Like their dynamic, they just don't get along. They kind of hate each other, and it goes on. She gets kind of put in this situation, and it's a 5-book series, and she has to deal with a lot of the alien problems they come up with. It gets more and more wild as the series goes on, and I think this series is amazing and you should read it. Next, I'm going to recommend Fallen. So this series involves angels. So in the beginning of this book, she is put into this boarding school academy thing, and I think it's for delinquent students, and she meets a boy there, and it turns out that he is a fallen angel. So she has to figure out what their relationship is, what is going on, and what happened with these fallen angels. And it later in the series it becomes this like hell, heaven thing, traveling different dimensions thing. It becomes a lot, the plot really develops and the world gets a lot bigger, and the issues and the problems that they have get really bigger. But I hate the ending of the series. The ending of the series is the one thing that I feel like no book should do. That's the most unsatisfying ending ever, but the rest of the series, it's such a great ride. Next, I'm going to be talking about I Am Legend. This book I recently read, and so it is about this man who is the only man left on Earth that he knows of. And all these vampires are hanging around outside his house, and he needs to find a way to get out. Not necessarily get out in the beginning, he's just trying to find a way to survive. And so you kind of explore his past to figure out how he ended up there and how he ended up being the only man left. And I think it was great. This story was so good, and it definitely was kind of really scary, because imagine like being the only person left alive and your house is surrounded by vampires and it's hard to move about at all. And you know, the only time you can move about was during the day, but even then, you know, it still wasn't safe. So I love this book and I recommend it. Next book I'm talking about is the Cirque du Freak series. So this series involves vampires. In the beginning, it is about a boy who goes and sneaks off to see this Cirque du Freak show. And in the show, it's a bunch of different people who can do very weird, crazy things, like the type of people that can swallow swords and who can control spiders and stuff. So he gets mesmerized by this. And one of the people in the show is a vampire. And so his friend tries to talk to this man for him to become a vampire. And so then the book series gets a little bit more crazy. It is a middle grade series, so it does feel very, very young, but I think it is great. It becomes mostly about vampires and includes other things, and the characters separate and meet up, and then it's complicated. It just, like, the whole series feels like full roundabout way, so it really concludes good in the end, besides for one thing that I do not like to happen in books, one of the same things that happened in Fallen. But it is a really good series if you want those vampire paranormal things. Next book I'm talking about is The Shining. So The Shining I probably don't need to talk too much about, but it is about this family who move in to a hotel to watch it over the summer, and not over the summer, over the winter, and a bunch of paranormal things happen. There's ghosts, maybe like demon-like things, and they're trapped in the hotel, and the character, it's kind of their biggest battles against themselves, I think. So I visited the hotel that this was supposedly set at, and it is great seeing that and seeing how they really make it their biggest advertisement, The Shining. But I also work at a hotel, not that hotel, another hotel, a very big hotel, and I read it while I was there at work, and I think that just really added to the vibes for me. But this is definitely a paranormal book, and it is pretty, like, scary. Like, it's more adult scary. The rest are very, very tame. Very, very, very tame. But this one is adult scary, so I recommend it. The next 4 books that I want to talk about are books that I didn't enjoy the most. I liked them overall, and I enjoyed them, but they're not some of my favorites. But they are great paranormal books that a lot of people do love, that I feel like are perfect books to read for this time. So we're going to start off with talking about The Library of the Unwritten. The Library of the Unwritten is about this library in hell, and this woman who is in charge of the Library of Hell, and one of the characters from her book comes out, and he tries to go find his author, because these books are all books that never got finished, that the authors gave up on. So he went to go convince his author to write it. Now, as much as like that plot sounds really good, the book turns into something completely else. It becomes into this demons against angels type of thing, something very similar to other books I explained, and maybe I'm not as into it as I was years ago when I read those books, but I didn't enjoy it that much. But it did have the demons and angels and fighting and good battle scenes and action and all of that, so I think it's perfect for this time of year. Next book I'm going to talk about is Ocean at the End of the Lane. This is a really weird book. This book was so weird that I didn't even know if I enjoyed it. But basically, in the beginning, it is a man going back to visit his old childhood home, and he visits his old best friend's house, and he starts to remember what happened what happened there 40 years earlier. And it is a very weird and disturbing events that happened, but as a boy he was living in that house, and then he got a nanny that was really, he did not believe she was a nanny, and I don't think she wasn't, so she was just this creature, and then a bunch of creepy weird things happened, some sexual things that I do not like, that I just don't know how to feel about, but it was really weird. I don't know how else to describe it. I can't say that I loved it or enjoyed it, because it was hard for me to really, like, I kind of understood what was happening, but it was hard for me to, like, really connect to the story because it was so strange. But, I think that is a good paranormal book to read, and it's just weird and kind of spooky, and I think it'd be a good book to read this time. The next book I'm going to talk about is The Coldest Girl in Cold Town. This book I also didn't really enjoy, so I have a hard time connecting with Holly Black's writing because she really writes like modern-ish books. Like, I don't know how to explain it. She like writes books, so then there's a lot of modern aspects to it, like phones, cameras, things like that. And the thing is that in books like that, it really disconnects me from the story, because I don't want to hear about like the phones and texting and things like that in stories, you know. I do it daily, so I don't really want to like read it. That's my escape. So that's why I have a hard time connecting with her writing. But this story was good. So it is about this girl named Tana, and she wakes up one day at a party where everyone was murdered. And so there's this phenomenon going on with vampires, and vampires are like taking over, basically. So she goes to this place, Cold Town, and once you go in, I believe you cannot leave. So she goes into this Cold Town to figure out the situation, to save people. It's I read it so long ago, I can't remember exactly, but it is a really good paranormal book if you want to read it. If you like those things in books and the whole phone and modern things like that don't bother you, then I definitely recommend it. But it definitely has the feeling of the October season. The last book I'm going to be talking about for this video is The Hearts We Sold. So this is about a girl who makes a deal with a demon, and the demon takes her heart, and so she has to join this group of people who all do not have their hearts with them, that the demon has their hearts, and they have to do these quests and things for the demon. And it is really good. I liked it. It's not one of my favorites. Like these last 4 books are not one of my favorites, but I think it was really good and well done, and I think that the plot was, you know, really interesting and satisfying, and I wanted to know what's happened, and there was kind of a good romance in it. I didn't connect with it the most, but I thought it was a really good romance, and I enjoyed this series a lot. Not this series, this book a lot. Just not one of my favorites. It's a good paranormal book though. So that is all 10 books I recommend. Paranormal book series or just novels, standalone books. I hope you enjoyed. as always, I post every single Thursday. Please like and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. And I will see you next time. Bye.